This is the K-Pop Cast, and this is K-Pop Going Global, a history of East meets West, Western collaborations and features. Brought to you by, who was it in our Slack that told me we should do this? Brought to you by Von Duke, who said we should do an episode about the best K-pop crossovers. And here we are.
Mm-hmm. So if you guys want to have some influence on some of the things we talk about, come join us in the Slack.
There you go. And I'm realizing the original ask was for the best, and I think we went for comprehensive. Oops. Okay. But that being said, we're going to give ourselves some creative license here and say, while we tried to be comprehensive, we didn't get everything. And the things that we do discuss about in this episode are only the best, because they're the ones that we can remember to talk about.
Yeah. Because when you've been in this K-pop game as long as we have, there's a lot of bests.
That's right. So we're going to go since the beginning of time to the present of all these songs which feature a Western artist featuring on a K-pop song, or vice versa, a Western song featuring a K-pop artist and talking about this history. And I think as Vaughn was getting at in their initial suggestion was that, hey, we've seen a rise of this in the last year or so. And my initial reaction to this was, in the last year or so? Come on. This has been happening for a long time now. Well, I think we maybe actually have some data and science to show. Actually, I think they're right. It has happened a lot more, but yeah. It feels like it's been happening for a long time, and that this has been going on a long time. So we'll bring to you that history, that curated history of those eras. And before we dive into it, Michaela, I just wanted to say, let's just appreciate this moment, because it was 14-ish years ago that K-pop was still a niche.
Yeah.
And today, it's a global powerhouse. And a big part of that powerhouse is thanks to the success that comes between the iconic partnerships between K-pop idols and Western stars. From Twice and Megan Thee Stallion, and Psy and Snoop Dogg, and BTS and Halsey. These collaborations have not only brought us incredible music, but also bridged the cultures in ways we probably imagined. I was going to say never imagined, but probably imagined.
Yeah. Very, very predictable scenarios. But yeah, so guys, grab your headphones, get ready. We're about to take you on a journey through the history of Western artist collaborations in K-pop from the early days to the global phenomenon it is today. So, ready, Peter?
I'm ready. Fighting.
Go.
Let's do it.
Fighting. All right.
No reason to live without you. No reason to live without you. No reason to live without you. No reason to live without you.
Yeah, kicking it off with the pre-2000s early history of what we think of as Korean and Western collaborations. Obviously, before the pre-2000s, the Korean music was largely focused on the domestic audience, like actual Korean people. The concept of K-pop, as we know it today, didn't really exist. However, there were few notable instances of Korean artists working with Western musicians, particularly around the 1980s through the 1990s, and these collaborations were often experimental and not widely publicized as modern K-pop crossovers. So they're really hard to find. This pre-2000s era is lost media of K-pop, because again, nobody was really looking out for these things. There's not a lot of archival.
They didn't even know how to define it, right? It was not a concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so starting it off, we're going to talk about Kim Won-sung featuring Michael Jackson's producers. Kim Won-sung was often called the Madonna of Korea, worked with American producers in the late 1980s and early 1990s to create a more international sound. While not directly collaborating with the Western artists, her music was heavily influenced by Western pop and R&B. Mm-hmm.
So I think K-pop became known as K-pop thanks to Saitaji and the Boys.
Yes, we can't. We cannot talk about pre-2000s without bringing up Soteji and the Boys, because that's literally every recap other than ours that's talked about, Western collaboration has to bring them up. It feels like a meme now. It's like you have to talk about you can't not talk about the history of K-pop without bringing up Soteji and the Boys, even though there were kind of technically other artists coming out. Like they are the ones that everybody has to mention as like how important they were in the history of K-pop as we know it today.
Right. So this is not a collaboration in the sense of like featuring an artist, but I think it's worth calling out because they were the ones who introduced like this concept of like Western sound into pop. Like before that point, it was like trot music, and then all of a sudden you have like this hip hop inspired like grunge energy from Soteji and the Boys. So like it introduced like the paradigm into introduced K-pop, like the cult of personality, but also the Western sound that wasn't like trot 1950s music.
Yeah, to the Korean sound, because again, when you're talking about pre-2000s, like even going back to the 70s, the 60s, the 50s, a lot of the Korean musicians that we see at least coming and doing Western style pop music were these artists that were going and to like American army bases and performing covers of American songs. They weren't necessarily like original songs until we get into people like the Kim sisters, who were very unique in the sense that they were one of those few artists that were performing on these army bases that got really popular, and then were the first people to really kind of get connected with Western producers who were coming to Korea and being like, oh, maybe we can make something with this Korean girl group in the 50s.
Is there anything else that you would call out, Michaela, in this like pre-2000s era?
That's the thing, is like it's from my limited research, other than the Kim sisters, there wasn't really any other like Korean artists that were really able to make any kind of crossover, just because there wasn't the industry, the path that we have nowadays. So it was very hard for me to find any like other notable examples, because again, just the lost media of it. Like if they were existing, we don't really necessarily have records of what they were doing at that time.
So now let's move on to the 2000s, so the decade that laid the foundation for K-pop's global ambitions. I think it was in the 2000s that K-pop was going through the earliest stages of being a domestic-only thing to going global by design in the markets the broader markets it was trying to reach. Certainly, we've had that, with trying to work in the Japanese market, but there were a lot of efforts to break into the Western market in this decade of K-pop. My K-pop origin story begins in 2008 in particular, and that's when I heard about this artist, BoA. And I thought it was ridiculous. What is this thing? And then I kind of fell into that rabbit hole, and I thought it was really cool and interesting from there. But BoA was from SM Entertainment, and she made her big entry with her own self-titled album at that time. And as a way to help promote that album, she had a few collaborations with Western artists. So it was the title track "Did It for Love" featuring Sean Garrett. That was like one of the first major like Western collaborations, crossovers, like SM Entertainment trying to follow probably like the expected playbook. Like if you were like trying to break into the market for the first time, what a better way to do it than with like a major Western pop star. And it was a good song. I really liked it, and, even though it was like very Western sounding and it's like maybe original production sound and composition. And then following that, I remember this is so funny. So Akon put out his title track "Beautiful," and it was a single in its own right, but as a way to help promote the virality of that song, Akon started accepting collaborations, and one of the feature collaborations that he allowed for that song was BoA. It was adding BoA. And the funny thing about this at that time, because K-pop breaking into the West was still this like really novel concept at that time, was that I saw fans renaming the song as Boa featuring Akon rather than Akon featuring Boa.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, and all Boa had was like an original verse in the bridge, and like that was it, really. But that was another like major Akon K-pop collaboration. And then I want to say a little before this, so in 2006-ish, Seven teamed up with Lil Kim for his track Girls. Do you remember that song? I like Girls. Oh, okay, we'll play a sample of it.
Yeah, that was a little bit before my K-pop time. I missed a lot of Seven when he came out.
But I think it was like this like era, like starting with Seven in 2006 to like late 2009, that you're starting to see like a lot of these like Asian labels trying to penetrate the Western market, and then using collaborations as a tool to penetrate, plant their flag, on the continent, and get into that market. So I do want to call out that around the same time, around 2004, can you even remember a world before K-pop? There was a time when J-pop was a bigger thing than K-pop.
Right.
And in 2004, Utada Hikaru, trying to do basically the same thing, like preceding the K-pop wave, the Hallyu wave, collaborated with Timbaland. And Timbaland, was one of the... I just want to call this out because it was like an early example of like a Western, major producer, artist collaborating with like an, Asian artist. And I remember during interview segments of these years from like, what is it, like 2004 to 2009, I always saw in Western press interviews, like people would say like, oh, Utada or oh, Boa, you are the Britney Spears of Asia. Was how they always described them. And it was always that framing, because I guess that's how they got the segment. But anyway, yeah, Utada and Timbaland, they produced that song By Your Side, which, had some yellow fever and weird lyrics, but whatever. And then Utada also made her 2009 comeback around that same time. So you're kind of seeing like, both Japanese and the Korean industries trying to penetrate the Western market. And then the Wonder Girls and JYP and his global ambition was also trying to penetrate the market. So he started forcing those poor, wonderful girls to sing in English and then do like a million bajillion remixes of Nobody. So there wasn't any collaboration that I found between the Wonder Girls and like a Western artist around this time. But I will call out that they did a lot of Western major producer remixes. So there was the Jason Nevins remix in 2009 of Nobody. And then just a year later, the song Two Different Tears, in the music video of Two Different Tears, they had the, the comedian Bobby Lee featured in the music video. So that wasn't like necessarily a music collaboration, but it was like another like, he's Asian American, he's Korean, but they had like a Western, idol icon featuring in the song. So, and they were all unsuccessful. Every single effort from that time failed. I remember like Seven, like his only thing was like he opened in the club once, like he wasn't even getting gigs or selling out tickets.
Right, and then we're framing failure, Peter, right, in the sense that it was maybe popular within like the K-pop fan community, but it wasn't necessarily getting picked up from new fans in the Western markets. New like household name kind of thing wasn't really happening with any of these projects or collaborations.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good framing, Michaela. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
because the challenge was like the fans who were liking this stuff were fans already.
Yeah.
Although there was a few like myself who got into it because of it.
I remember when the music wasn't really popping off for the Wonder Girls, but they were really like boots on the ground here in the US, like trying to promote themselves as much as possible, like joining the Jonas Brothers tour. And I remember that was the first time I ever saw a K-pop artist in person, was because they came to my little town of Fresno, California, and performed it with the Jonas Brothers. And so yeah, they didn't have a lot of like songs and like music that was successful, but I mean, they definitely made a mark in the fact that they were getting to the people that I think appreciated it the most.
Yeah, actually, if there's a single group that was the most successful, it was the Wonder Girls and their Jonas Brothers tour. Like that prior to that point did it the most for the Hallyu Wave, I think.
Yeah, as far as Western K-pop collabs.
That's right, yeah. And I remember talking to people around that time, and I was always shocked that they knew what this K-pop thing was. It was because they saw the Wonder Girls when they were waiting to see the Jonas Brothers in concert. So
yeah,
there you go.
The only notable thing I think before we get into the 2010s is in the early 2000s there was a very interesting collaboration between Will Smith and the K-pop duo Turbo, where they released a Korean version of Will Smith's song "Just the Two of Us." And they actually ended up performing it together in Korea. But again, this is true lost media in K-pop. I don't think anybody really knows or remembers that this even happened. But it's just one of those notable things. Like there weren't a lot of music that was very successful, but you even saw Western artists when they were trying to promote coming to Korea and doing things with artists as special performances while they were there, even though it wasn't necessarily like something they were trying to put out as like a song collaboration in the Western market.
But these were the early steps, the early stages.
Very early stages.
Yes. So transitioning now to the 2010s, and this is where it really starts to pick up steam and gain momentum.
Oh yes.
So I want to say it was around it was either at the very end of 2009 or the very beginning of 2010. I was a 2NE1 Jack. I was a 2NE1 Blackjack, and I was watching 2NE1 TV. And on 2NE1 TV, this is just like the YG corporate propaganda show, which curates or documents a day in the life of 2NE1. Toward the end of that show, they were showing hey, we're gonna go to the United States and we're gonna work with will.i.am, and that was a big freaking deal. Because will.i.am was at the top of his game around that time. In terms of producing chart topper hits and singles and stuff.
Yo, 2NE1. I saw your videos, liked it a lot. I think you guys are real talented. I would like to work with you guys on some beats, on some music to make people in Brazil, make people in London, make people in Canada, make people in America, make people in Australia like 2NE1. I want to do international, you know what I mean? No words, but just sock them up. See you in April.
But anyway, so will.i.am is producing really good music. And that was featured as a part of the show. And his relationship with YG Entertainment kind of paved the way, if you will, for all the other 2010s era collaborations that followed. So he started working with them on a bunch of songs that tragically never actually got published, and you can listen to samples of those songs in the 2NE1 Blackjack documentary.
I love you sexy. I love you sexy too. Oh, you drive me wild. I'm your happy beep. Where the love lasts, where the love lasts forever. Oh, love me, oh, oh, I am a
did stuff with Intel, the semiconductor company, which is now doing very poorly, but at that time was doing really well. Where like will.i.am produced like commercial songs, and then he featured 2NE1 as a part of them. I think one of those songs was "Take the World On," and like you can get like really poor audio recordings of that song from that time. It was a really good song from what we were able to sample. And that foundation, those early collaborations, those early songs that will.i.am started to produce, but like never ultimately released with 2NE1, kind of influenced a lot of music production styles for 2NE1's album that immediately followed. So like "I Am the Best," "Go Away" were all songs that like were influenced by will.i.am's audio production styles, and Teddy Park took note, and I think he blended his approach with that in making those songs. But there were a couple of songs that we did get. So in will.i.am's album in 2013, we had "Getting Dumb," which featured 2NE1. And then I think that was actually it for will.i.am, 2NE1. will.i.am also contributed to other things, influenced some Psy songs and compositions, worked closely with CL, obviously, in CL's future debut. And then also contributed and helped with Big Bang and making connections with Big Bang and others in the industry. So will.i.am also established YG's connection with Interscope Records. And let's see, what else? That's it for will.i.am. But around the same time, I want to call out another major producer. So Diplo was I think he was already famous around that time for being like a Western house EDM music producer and DJ. And in 2010, he collaborated with GD and T.O.P. for the now banned, and like I guess the label tried removing it from the internet because like it was a banned song for, I think, celebrating consumerism or something. I don't quite get it. But that song was removed, but Diplo collaborated with them, and he wrote about, I remember reading it at the time, like Diplo said like, "Oh, I'm so stoked about like the talent coming out of Korea. Like check out this song I did with GD and T.O.P. called Knockout." And I think that T.O.P. at one point in the song even say Diplo in the lyrics. Oh, and I should add that from that Diplo collaboration, GD and T.O.P. were also included on Diplo's other project, where he was under the virtual artist group known as Major Lazer.
Oh, yes, Major Lazer.
Major Lazer had a very popular song called Bubble Butt. Mm-hmm. And in the remix version of Bubble Butt, featuring, I don't know, a bunch of other Western artists I don't care to remember, there was a remix version which starred GD and T.O.P. And they had the very first verse of that remix song.
Yeah, I remember discovering that for the first time and thinking it was like a fan edit, because at the time I didn't conceive that like Diplo
original
would
raps,
be working with T.O.P. and GD on this song, but then realizing that no, this is a real thing. They're really on this song talking about bubble butts. Well, I mean, they weren't talking about butts specifically, I don't think, in their verses, but the fact that they were on this song is just like one of those very iconic moments around this time in K-pop.
That's right. So Diplo did other YG Entertainment collaborations. So he worked with CL for the song Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper.
Which was, I don't know, a juicy song, I guess. I don't even know how to describe it. But like you play that song now and people are like, wow, you must be old and from a certain era of K-pop if you know and play that song. Featuring Riff Raff. And then later, Dr. Pepper was 2015. Mm-hmm. Earlier preceding that, there was another Diplo collaboration featuring CL and GD called Dirty Vibe, and that was like something like a drum and bass ish
Yeah.
track. And that was a big deal because it was like jointly produced by Skrillex. It was like another like way to break them into the mainstream through Western collab. So I just wanted to highlight those major producers to start the 2010s. But before we dive further into the producer segment, is there anything else that you want to kick off the 2010s with in terms of Western collaborations?
Yeah, so of course we have to talk about Uncle Steve, Mr. Steve Aoki, a very important facilitator of Western K-pop artist collaborations in this era.
Yes, that's right. So Steve Aoki, he did a lot of he was known for a lot of his EDM songs and productions at this time.
Yeah.
He did a remix of Girls' Generation Taxi. I think in this era, and so he was already starting to dabble in remix, West or Eastern K-pop songs, but I think he and the artists he collaborated came on the map because they put both their names in the title of their song. So there was, we're going to talk about it, BTS.
Right.
So BTS and Steve Aoki worked together on their song Mic Drop. Steve Aoki did the remix version of Mic Drop featuring Designer, which don't ever play that song, the Designer verse, in front of K-pop fans. They hate it because it skips over Hobie's verse. So make sure you don't play that one. But yeah, that was a harder, like the Aoki remix of Mic Drop, but harder, and it featured Aoki in the music video, and that was, I want to say, in 2017. So that was at the tail end of the 2010s.
Well, and then obviously they did "Wasted on Me" in 2018 was their first English release, but I think the most, at least the most special for ARMY, and I think at the time, was "The Truth Untold" that he did with them, which
wait, before you move on to Truth Untold, Wasted on Me featured a lot of collaborations, but maybe not in the song. So it featured all the Asian American entertainers and actors in the music video, and it didn't actually star any members of BTS in the music video at all. But it had what is it? I don't know, like it was like the who's who of like Asian American actors at that time were in that music video.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and then
go on.
of course we have to go to "The Truth Untold" in 2018, which I think is more special, especially to ARMYs, because it was a very departure, a big departure, one from I think what people would think a Steve Aoki track would be. It's a pop ballad, and so which is a very big departure from like the EDM tracks I think that he was known for. But it showed his versatility as a producer, and it also showed BTS's versatility. I think that it had been a while since they had produced such a slow pop ballad that was really just focused on showing off their vocals.
Yeah, that's right. So Steve Aoki, while we're still in the 2010s for Steve Aoki, I think it's worth calling out, at the end he started working with Monsta X for Play It Cool, and then at the tail end right into 2020 he did Now or Never with Monsta X as well. So I think Steve was helpful in getting Monsta X on the map for their Western ambition. But let's go back. Sorry, we kind of jump started by talking about all these major producers in K-pop. Let's go. Oh, Mikhail, you gonna say something?
Well, no, I wouldn't say putting Monsta X on the map. I think it definitely jump started because obviously after that Monsta X has a very long Western discography of English albums that they produced after working with him.
Yeah, that's right. No, thank you for clarifying that. But let's go back to the beginning parts of the 2010s. So I think, everyone started paying attention to K-pop thanks to Gangnam Style and Psy.
Yes.
But following that kickstarted a lot of other collaborations. So right after that, Psy collaborated with Snoop Dogg.
Yes. Hangover.
Yes, for Hangover in 2014. I think it's also worth noting that Snoop Dogg collaborated with the Girls' Generation, and he did like a rap remix version of their song. And I remember that was a big deal because I guess, like, you know, again, back in those early days, like this is like early 2010s, it was a big deal to have like K-pop idols in public or in like any Western places, period. And it was a big deal because like one night they were at this one club where Girls' Generation and Snoop Dogg were all in person, and yeah, it was like just a rare, you know, semi-concert like moment that you're getting these people in the West. So in 2017, it was when we had all those Steve Aoki, BTS crossovers starting to happen. And then just a year later, Blackpink had their own collaboration with Dua Lipa, Kiss and Make Up. That song's still really popular. And then we'll get into it more, but like following that, Blackpink had hella more collaborations.
Yeah, I mean, Blackpink even at this time wasn't really releasing a lot of music in the first place. So
yeah, they had like 6 songs at this point. I don't know, it was like less than 10. Like it was nothing. And then at the end of the decade, there was EXO who worked with Jason Derulo in their song "Just Shut Up and Dance," and it's funny, like that song still feels like it was yesterday when it came out.
Well, yeah, it was EXO's Lay and NCT 127 members.
Oh, excuse me, EXO's Lay, yes.
Yeah, EXO's Lay and NCT 127.
Yeah. And then NCT teamed up with. Going back to that collaboration, it ended up actually being a Michael Jackson tribute. It was connected to like a Michael Jackson tribute project that never really came out because of things that were going on in the media about Michael Jackson. So it was one of those unfortunate, like the collaboration, the song was really great, but it just lost steam because of its connection to this other project. NCT 127 also collaborated with Ava Max for a remix of "So Am I."
Yeah.
And Monster X during the same time also had a collaboration with French Montana on "Who Do You Love." I remember, man, it feels like that song was just yesterday. Like that, I remember seeing that on like Western DJ record pools. I was like, whoa, K-pop is starting to make it.
And that's what I'm saying. Monster X, especially like their English tracks around this time, were really like getting a lot of steam because they were really good. Although the French Montana feature and subsequent performances with French Montana were very unfortunate because of French Montana, but the song itself was doing really well.
Yeah. So sorry listeners for like jumping all around all over the place, but just to kind of like run through like the arc of the 2010s. So we had like the Psy Gangnam Style breakout breakthrough era. So we had Hangover in 2014, The Boys in 2011, 2012. We had Dirty Vibe in 2014. Oh, G-Dragon and Missy Elliott did their song.
How could we have forgotten? Oh my gosh.
Nilyria.
There
we go. Yeah, that was a big deal collaboration.
Yes.
Oh, G-Dragon also collaborated with Bauer on that album. Yes, that was 2013.
Yeah. But back to the Missy Elliott. Like that was one, just seeing that perform together for the first time. I think they did that performance at KCON that year in 2013.
Oh, that was a KCON performance?
That was a KCON performance. Well, I mean, it was technically like an M Countdown in LA performance, but it was it was one of those things where, damn, why didn't I go to KCON that year? Because it's just two very iconic artists performing for the first time.
Epic High in 2014 collaborated with Gallant, if I'm saying his name right, for Born Hater. And then in 2015, Function of X, FX, collaborated with Zachary Cole for No More. And what else? Is there anything else I'm forgetting in this era? No, let's move on. So going into 2015 to 2017, we had a bunch of other collaborations. So Red Velvet's Wendy worked with Ricky Martin. She was a feature on his song Vente Pasa. I'm saying that quickly. I'm sorry, everyone. My pronunciation sucks. In 2017, we had a bunch of collaborations with BTS, again with Aoki. BTS also did The Best of Me with the Chainsmokers in 2017. Monsta X did a collaboration with Pitbull for their song Besides You in 2017. And then in 2018, we had a bunch of other mainstream collaborations. So we had Wendy.
Oh yeah, Wendy and John Legend. Oh my gosh, Written in the Stars. Amazing.
That's right. And we had beginning of some like Latin American crossovers. So we had Leslie Grace and Play in Skills with Super Senior Lo Siento. I remember talking to Alexis about that song around that time. And BTS continued on their world domination. So
Right.
J-Hope did Chicken Noodle Soup with Becky G in 2018. Steve Aoki appeared once again in... Oh, we already discussed that. Never mind. And then Diplo was a bridge again for Red Velvet and Ellie Goulding's song Close to Me. And Red Velvet was on the remix version of that song. It's not a collaboration, but I just want to call out like how funny it was that K-pop was copying Western music when GD and Taeyong produced their song Good Boy in 2014. That was like a direct copy of Turned Down for What.
Turned Down for What? Yeah.
Like you could put the Lil Jon Turned Down for What, like instead of like Good Boy. Happens. All right. So moving on to the tail end of the 2010s, it was just like what, mostly BTS and Blackpink, but 2018 and 2019 we had a major collaboration with BTS and Halsey with Boy With Love. That was a big deal when that came out. I don't know, like even to this day, I will play like the very first note of like the instrumental, and like everyone like shouts and they get excited. BTS had their... Oh, go ahead.
That collaboration is when these collaborations start to feel a little bit more like, you know, like there's more amicable. Like these aren't just like, oh, we're doing this because the label wants us to. It almost feels like these artists are actually like working together in creating art together, not just doing something for the access to each other's markets, you know.
Yeah, they were proactively seeking each other. And I think it felt very like... I think a lot of Western artists were sensing the rise of BTS at this time, but it felt like they were kind of on the same level, right? In asking to feature on each other's songs. So BTS also put out it's like a soundtrack for a video game, I want to say, but their song Dream Glow with Charlie XCX.
I know you throw it away as like a video game, but I'll be honest, the BTS World game, I spent an ungodly amount of hours playing this game. It was one of those like first few like, you know, when Big Hit was trying to get into like the video game market and they started making these games. But the most important thing is like the soundtrack for that whole video game had a lot of really like again lost collaborations between BTS and a lot of other Western artists that are like really good songs.
Yeah. I thought it was like I didn't realize when I was listening to that album. I didn't realize it was like a soundtrack at first.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like, oh, this is a collaboration album with really
Yeah,
good
no.
songs. And it turns out,
It was a
soundtrack.
collaboration album for songs to play for the game.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So around that time, we also had 2018, the banger song "Idol." There was the original version, and then there was a Nicki Minaj version where she had the intro in the song and then the rap in the bridge. Which I don't know. Felt a little lazy in the Nicki Minaj rap. I don't know. The lyrics just felt very lazy to me. But anyway, I still play it to this day. What else? Do you remember the song "Sold"? What is it? "Old Town Road." Like that was a thing. Remember? In 2019,
Yes.
"Old Town Road," and RM of BTS did a remix of it called the "Soul Town Road" remix. So that was just a fun reimagining, and then BTS was also included on what was it, like one of those MV award shows for it. It was like another like rare instance of like, you know, BTS being featured on like Western television and like BTS trying to get that Grammy and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Especially in 2019.
Right. Okay. Shall we move on?
Yes.
All right. So here's the commercial break section. So these will we like who will live, who will die? So these collaborations weren't just about music. We're talking about breaking through barriers and creating something entirely new. They show that K-pop artists could hold their own alongside Western stars.
Yes.
They set the stage for the explosive growth of cross-genre collaborations in the 2020s and beyond.
Yeah, but the story doesn't end here, guys. In the next segment, we will dive into the 2020s, where K-pop collaborations reach new heights with artists like Megan Thee Stallion, Charlie Puth, and even virtual groups like KDA. So stay tuned.
Oh, yes. Yes, there we go. I forgot to call it out. In 2018, Riot Games did like the first of its kind, KDA,
Yes.
in their song Pop Stars, featuring Jen Soyeon and a bunch of other girls I forgot about. But,
Yes.
it was the other girl from G Idol, and then, what is it? Like, I want to say like
Madison Beer.
Yeah, okay.
And then
But
one
it was a
other.
big deal
I can't
because it
remember.
was like, it was like a new format of collaborations. Like, it wasn't just a song. It was introducing a virtual group, like, you know, that appeals to young adolescent boys and women having unrealistic body standards in their virtual characters. But no, it was I don't know, it kind of changed the game because it made Riot Games relevant to new audiences. It was like a really good collaboration for the K-pop stars and breaking into the market.
Yeah. I am new audiences. Like, I ate this up when it first came out, and I have no idea about anything else that Riot Games does other than produce pop groups.
You mean they're a video game developer as well?
Oh, they make video games? Oh, I didn't know.
That's right. Okay, well, enough on that. Welcome to the 2020s, the decade where K-pop collaborations with Western artists became bigger, bolder, and more innovative than ever before. This era has seen K-pop dominate global charts, break streaming records even more, and push the boundaries of what was possible.
Yes, of course, we have to start with BTS, who continued to lead the charge in 2021. They teamed up with Megan Thee Stallion for the Butter remix, which debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. This collab was a cultural moment, blending BTS's signature pop sound with Megan's fiery rap verses. And later, Jungkook released his solo track 7 featuring Lotto, which became a global hit and showcased his versatility as an artist.
Yeah, I think it was interesting because it was like an era where we started, you know, Army, BTS going to the military, starting to do more solo endeavors. Blackpink, meanwhile, was making history of their own. In 2020, they collaborated with Lady Gaga for their song Sour Candy. And they also worked with Selena Gomez on Ice Cream. playful summer anthem that I don't know. I want to say like became emblematic of the pandemic era because with this time, everyone was sheltering at home, and then like a similar rule was happening for K-pop artists where they had to do a lot of recordings in like separate isolated spaces.
Yeah.
So if you watch the music video of Ice Cream, even though it kind of sort of looks like Selena Gomez is on the same set with Blackpink, they're very clearly shot in two completely separate, locations, and they probably never met, my guess, despite having made that song together. Sorry, another example of that at the same time. Chungha and Christopher, they had their song. What was the name of that song? Bad Boy. So when Chungha collaborated with Christopher, the way that music video, I'll put that music video in air quotes, the way that was shot was like they weren't even in the same room, but it was kind of sort of made to look like they were in the same room, but they were just like shot next to each other, like in two separate frames. Because it was the pandemic, the year of the pandemic.
Yeah. But it wasn't just big names making waves. Stray Kids teamed up with Charlie Puth for Lose My Breath, and New Jeans collaborated with Jon Batiste for Be Who You Are.
And then we had a bunch of remixes for Twice As the Feels. So that was their all English song. It's funny, like, in this section of the show, it's either like it feels like recent episodes of the K-pop cast. It feels like it was just yesterday that we were doing an episode on that. But anyway, the Feels, they had a bunch of Western remixes with Western artists. There was the Benny Benassi remix of the Feels. And then we saw even more video game collaborations between Riot Games and now Blizzard Entertainment. So we forgot to talk about it, but in 2019 there was True Damage featuring Jun Soyeon. So I want to say it's sort of like reprising her same like virtual character.
Yeah, just Jun Soyeon and a new group of people.
And then there was the return of KDA for The Baddest, featuring Miyeon and Soyeon. And then in 2020 there was also More for KDA, also featuring Miyeon and Soyeon. And in 2023 there was Heartsteel featuring Baekhyun of EXO. In 2023, we actually had a lot of other crossovers from video games. So there was also Blizzard Entertainment's Le Seraphim's Perfect Night. It wasn't exactly a Western feature artist thing, but it was like, K-pop in new spaces sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then there was also New Jeans' Gods in 2023 for Riot Games, which is like a, video game sort of like soundtrack, I guess I want to say. And then Blizzard Entertainment also worked with Halsey and Suga for the Diablo 4 anthem. So it Suga didn't have a major verse, but it was just he was weird
there.
Seeing, yeah, it was not weird. I think it was fitting. I think Suga probably said he played a lot of Diablo growing up, so he was featured in that song. Let's not forget other solo artists of this era. So we had Lisa of Blackpink, who released SG with DJ Snake, Ozuna, Megan Thee Stallion.
Another like clearly photoshopped version of her in.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was a weird. Yeah, crossover. There was also Jimin of BTS teamed up with Pharrell Williams, who produced the song Vibe with Taeyong. And then, oh my god, what was the other song that Jungkook was on at that time? Too Much, featuring Kid Laroi, Central Lee. Central Lee? I do not know these artist names and how to pronounce them. But yeah, there was, I don't know. I'm just trying to think if there's other shouts we want to make during this time. Chungha worked with Kwana Sorry, like Alexis is like rolling her eyes, like 'cause she hates my pronunciation of this. But she did her song "Demente," which is like another like Latin American collaboration crossover. BTS collaborated with Sia for "On" 2020.
Did they though? Was she?
Wait. Is this misinformation? Let me check this.
No. I'm saying it's because I remember clearly when this collaboration came out, I thought it was like a fan cover with the quality of the mix of Sia in the song.
I see.
Yeah.
This is also funny. Like, so in 2020, there was like, I don't know, like BTS just remixing popular songs. So they were on, Jason Derulo's like Savage Love. Do you remember that song?
Oh, yeah.
And so it was just like BTS singing that song instead. It was like a cover, basically. I guess it's a collaboration worth calling out because it's in the artist title, but ITZY collaborated with Oliver Heldens, or featured Oliver Heldens for Ting Ting Ting. Which, and this song sounded just like, I want to say, Blackpink's Sour Candy. Like those two songs are very similar to each other. What else? Oh, there was the Zara Larsson feature in the More and More remix of Twice. Or Twice's More and More remix. Not exactly a recorded feature, but Megan Thee Stallion did a cover of Zoom, or did a performance of Zoom by Jessie at Mama 2022. And Eric Nam featured Kelsey Ballerini, if I'm saying her name correctly, for I Don't Know You Anymore. What else? What else am I forgetting? What else did we not cover? Oh, there was hella features and collaborations in 2023 for Eve Syke and the Bluebeard's Wife. So by La Seraphim, which featured Demi Lovato. That was its own remix, and then there was a separate remix for Rina Sawayama. If I'm saying their name right.
Yeah, Rina Sawayama.
Yeah. Forgetting, but I forgot to mention this earlier, but in 2021, HE's featured the Pentatonics for the song A Little Space. So there was a lot happening in the 2020s.
Yeah.
Early 2020s.
I think the last one I'll add on, I think that we haven't touched on, which technically is a remake of aespa's featuring Novice, Next Level, which, because it's technically like a remake of like original Western artist's track, it technically counts, but I think it was one of the more popular of like in 2021, I think. Yeah, because it was originally an OST for one of the Fast and Furious movies.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
I forgot to call it out earlier, but because I'm not familiar with this artist, but Salim Elise, I sort of discovered this song, the music video, which was a really funny music video, in researching this episode. But anyway, she collaborated with TXT as well as Alan Walker for the song PS5. And it talks about
right, yeah,
choosing Neo for your PS5 toy as your girlfriend or something. But yeah, there was a lot happening in the 2020s.
It was a lot.
It was already mainstream at that point in the 2020s. Like, collaborations were happening all over the place. All right.
I don't know. Is there something to be said about like the influx of collaborations at the time? Like, despite the fact that this is technically like pandemic era, we were still able to see even more of these kind of Western K-pop crossovers than we had seen before.
Yeah, if I had to like posit a theory, I feel like in the 2020s or like early 2020 or not early, mid 2020, like when everyone was in lockdown mode, you were starting to see people work from home, and then work from home for companies that they wouldn't ordinarily be able to work for because they're in different places. So in that same way, you had Western artists collaborating with like random international artists that they perhaps wouldn't think to entertain otherwise, but because everyone's working remotely anyway, just why not work with whoever is rising in the charts. All right, should we move on to our final year?
Yes. So let's wrap it up.
All right, so now thanks for dealing with us. Thanks for bearing with us, listeners, as we went through this haphazard episode. You can blame that on me for my sloppy outline here. But in 2024, we had a year that's redefining what's possible in collaborations. So let's first start off with IVE in Sawiti in their song All Night. And it was, what was it? It was a remix, or it was a remake of what classic song? I forget. But that was a fun one. And then the major collaboration that I think was the listener impetus for doing this episode of the K-Pop
Yes, the whole
Cast
reason we were talking about Western collabs in the first place.
was Rosé collaborating with Bruno Mars on the song Apathy, which was a cultural moment. Do you want to take some of these other ones, Mikhail?
Yeah, and then we had 17 obviously continuing to break new ground by teaming up with DJ Khaled for Love, Money, Fame. It's really fascinating to see how they've evolved really from their career with Western collaborations, from Marshmello and Anne Marie to this really interesting direction with DJ Khaled.
I thought it was a good song, honestly.
Yeah, it's a good song, but it was yeah. I guess maybe it's because I'm not a big fan of DJ Khaled that it doesn't hit as good for me as like previous songs that they've done with other artists.
I see. I totally forgot, but on the topic of Bruno Mars actually collaborated with Taemin way back when in
Yes.
What year was that? It was Taemin, I want to say Press Your
Number.
That's right.
Yeah, it was originally, I believe, a Bruno Mars song called Press Your Body. That
of course.
that was rewritten and produced for Taemin's Press Your Number album.
Speaking of Bruno Mars and other collaborations, I totally forgot to bring this up in the early 2000s section, but in 2009-ish, I want to say, Craig David asked Weesung to cover his own song, Insomnia. And that was an instance, not exactly like a feature, but it was like, Western artist asking a K-pop artist to cover their own song. And I think the Weesung version is better than the original Craig David version. Anyway, so just rounding it out, in 2024 there was hella collaborations. So there was Le Seraphim working with Max for Stupid Love. Oh, I forgot to bring up earlier, Max featured Suga and Blueberry Eyes. That was another really fun collaborations where Suga wasn't in the music video, but Max and his wife lip synced the lyrics of Suga, and so that was really fun. What else? Taeyeon and Sam Smith did a Korean version of I'm Not the Only One. Jimin partnered with Sophia Carson for Slow Dance. And Hypen in, I don't know how you pronounce this artist's name, Jvke, Jake.
And Hypen and Jake came together for the XO. There's only if you say yes song. And Twice obviously brought their signature style to Strategy featuring Megan Thee Stallion.
Jenny was a feature in Matt Champion's laid back track Slow Motion. And what else was there that we forgot to bring up?
Stray Kids Charlie Puth, Lose My Breath. That came out.
Oh, we forgot to talk about TXT and no, Jungkook and Charlie Puth, Left Right.
Oh,
that was another
yes.
major collaboration.
Yeah.
And then there was TXT and the Jonas Brothers for, what was the name of that song? Do It Like That,
Yes.
which came out
Yes.
in, what year was that? 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think like the moral of the story is like it was mainstream by that point. Like in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
Last
Yeah.
year before last, it was already mainstream. 2022. 2020 through 2024 is like not an unusual thing.
Mm-hmm. And it's almost an expectation now, right? I feel like at this point
yeah.
it's become part of the album cycle for Korean artists, like especially, you know, these artists from these bigger labels that are now under these Western labels as well. So like all the artists that are under like Sony Music and Universal Music and Capitol Records and things like that, like part of their new releases now involve collaborating or making remixes with Western artists. Like it's part of the K-pop machine now.
Yeah. I feel like there's other like Western K-R&B, K-rap, K-hip-hop songs that I totally forgot to research. But like Jay Park did, what is it? Ty Dolla $ign Mayday late last year as well. Nmix also did a song with Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike for Come On. And then let's not forget the many RM. RM is like the master of like collaborations and features, but he was also he featured Lil Sims on his own song Domodachi.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a feature on Megan Thee Stallion's Never Play.
Yeah. Yeah, and we say that because like even in his early mixtapes, like before he even like actually officially debuted as a solo artist, RM was working with Western artists. Like he worked with on his debut mixtape RM with the strange music artist, not Tech9. What's the other artist's name? God, Chris Calico.
Yeah,
Chris
and,
Calico.
you know, now that I'm looking up RM's discography, he also did, what was it? Please Don't Die with Warren G or PDD, and then what was that other song that he did with what was it, Wale?
Yes.
Change.
Yes. Change.
That was a 2017 song.
Yeah, so RM in his own way, paving the way for
Western
collabs
collaborations.
from the very beginning. From the very beginning.
Okay, well that was a haphazard episode. I'm sorry, everyone, for my organization and research. But
No, I think this is great. I mean, again, we've been talking about a lot of collaborations that we already know of. So, but there are a lot of new K-pop fans, especially as these collaborations become more prevalent in Western music spaces. There are more people discovering these K-pop artists who have never heard of any of these collaborations that we've talked about because they're just starting to dive into this world.
Yes. So look forward to seeing many more. By the way, I was trying to do a thing where I would count up like which Western artist had the most features on K-pop songs. Like was it like Megan Thee Stallion? And I don't know. It's just really hard to sort and organize it. So I don't actually know. But like if I had to guess, like BTS and Blackpink probably had the most number of like Western collaborations. Like RM as a solo artist probably did the most as well. And then like Steve Aoki probably has like the most like K-pop like producer credits. Okay. All right. That's it for this episode.
Yeah, so listeners, if you want to wow, why am I blanking on? So if you guess the listeners, if you have any other artist collaborations obviously that we didn't talk about, be sure to share them with us on our socials. You can find us at
the K-pop cast. And I'm at DJ Peter Lowe.
Yes, and I'm at PD Nim on the K-pop cast Slack, which you can find both of us in the K-pop cast Slack, and you can share there, which songs we missed, your thoughts on all these other collaborations that we talked about.
Oh, you know what song we missed? I just totally see it in my notes, my slapping notes right here.
Which one?
The Wonder Girls.
Oh, wait.
And Akon Like Money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they had a remix contest at that time,
Yeah,
which was
the
a really
remix
big
contest.
freaking deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, well, there's obviously a lot that we probably missed. But anyway, there you go. Collaborations have been happening all over the place and a lot in the last few years.
Mm-hmm. And we hope to see more of them, right?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, I think as at least kind of like now that we've gone through this whole list, I feel like there has been the collaborations are getting better. Like it's not. I wouldn't say that as K-pop has evolved that these collaborations aren't as good as the ones before.
Yeah, like the Nicki Minaj ones where it just felt very disjoint.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I need to be on this thing and be in this music video. Like now it feels like let's
especially
deliberately try to do this together.
Yeah, and as K-pop artists then on their own right have been elevated, it's more of these Western artists trying to appeal to the K-pop artists versus the K-pop artists appealing to them, in the sense so that I think has improved the quality of these collaborations because it's more of like it's about the art, man.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Thanks for listening, all. Are we done now?
Yes. Goodbye, everybody.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Love me like